Okay, let's go to the wide receiver position. All right, we've got another Jet here. Are we just pushing the chips in on Mike White? Are we crazy? What's going on here? I mean, Garrett Wilson's been phenomenal.
Listen, the Jets have a good team. I mean, they do, right? So, and Garrett Wilson's been good this year. He's had a bunch of stinkers, but he's a rookie. But last week, 26.4 fantasy points. He looked phenomenal. And that was against the Bears. And the Bears actually been tough against wide receivers. If you look at the numbers, the Vikings have not. They've allowed the most points to perimeter receivers. And with Mike White under center, the new hope in New York for Gang Green, I like Garrett Wilson as a wide receiver too in this matchup. And then I'm going back to the well with Christian Kirk. I liked him last week. He didn't have a great stat line. It was Zay Jones. But I'm going back to Kirk, and I'm going to say that he puts up a good line this week against the Detroit Lions. They have given up the fourth most fantasy points to slot receivers. Jen mentioned this is going to be a high-scoring affair. I would start Christian Kirk.
Again, we keep going back to that Jets game and that Jaguars game. There's a lot of starts there, and there are players you can get on the waiver wire. So if you can't get Christian Kirk, believe it or not, Zay Jones, who had 14 targets last week, available on 75% of waiver wires. So you can possibly put him in your flex position. Okay, as far as who you're sitting at wide receiver, we don't know if Aaron Rodgers is starting. You say it doesn't matter. It's probably just not a good idea to start Allen Lazard.
Yeah, the numbers have not been great, and his ceiling has taken a hit because all of a sudden Christian Watson's like Chris Carter. Like all he does is score touchdowns. So Lazard's ceiling has taken a hit. And when you look at the numbers, fewer than 11 points in 3 straight games. And I mentioned the Bears actually are pretty tough against perimeter receivers, 5 touchdowns allowed, and the third fewest fantasy points allowed. So I'd fade Allen Lazard. And then Treylon Burks, who's been really good. Look at the numbers over the last couple of weeks, 35.1 combined points. But last week, he recovered a fumble for a touchdown. It still counts. But I wouldn't say that he had a spectacular performance last week. And now you got the Eagles and Darius Slay. They've given up the 5th fewest fantasy points to perimeter receivers. So even though Burks has been really good the last couple of weeks, I think he's no more than a low flex at best.